Hey everybody, Andy Kvernen here with another Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional. You know, one of the scenarios that's been normal for me and my boys over the years is we love to go hunting and fishing, that's no secret. And inevitably, especially as they've gotten older, each of us has a job to do as we prepare to go on whatever trip we're taking. Somebody, their job is to pack the boat, somebody else's job is to get the tackle together, somebody else's job might be to get the food together. And most of the time, we're a pretty well-oiled machine. We get out there doing what we're doing and we have all our supplies, we're having a great time. But inevitably, especially towards the beginning of the season, whether it's the deer season or the fishing season or whatever it is, somebody forgets something. And usually if we forget something, it's going to be the snacks. It's going to be the food, the lunch, whatever it is. We get so fixated on the goal, which is to have a great fishing trip or a great hunting trip, that we forget to bring that which will nourish us. And that reminds me of one of the gospel accounts where the disciples actually forgot the snacks. They forgot the bread. They're with Jesus, they're doing ministry, they're out and about doing their thing, and perhaps they're excited, they're seeing miracles, they're seeing this opposition come, but Jesus standing up to this opposition. And they join with Jesus in a boat to go to the other side of the lake. And they get to the other side and they realize, oh shoot, we forgot the snacks. And then we pick it up in Mark 8:14. It says this: the disciples had forgotten to bring bread except for one loaf they had with them in the boat. They were undersupplied. Jesus says, be careful. Watch out for the yeasts of the Pharisees and that of Herod. Now, he's just been standing in opposition to the Pharisees, and Herod, of course, has just killed John the Baptist. It's been a bad thing. Jesus says, watch out. And the disciples are wondering, well, why does he bring that up right now? And their response is, verse 16, they discussed this with one another and said, it's because we have no bread. Isn't it like the disciples to fixate on the stuff that's important, that they think is important, the stuff that's in front of them, or their lack of resources? And Jesus, by this time, gets a little fed up, and I'm gonna talk about why in just a moment. But he says, aware of their discussion, he asked them, why are you talking about having no bread? Do you still not see or understand? Are your hearts hardened? Do you have eyes but fail to see, and ears but fail to hear? And don't you remember when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many baskets fulls of pieces did you pick up? 12, they replied. Now, here Jesus is referencing one of his miracles that he's just performed a chapter or 2 earlier. He's saying, look, don't you remember what I did? Now, why is he doing that? Well, it's interesting because just before this encounter with Jesus and the disciples forgetting bread, they actually are in the midst of another miracle where Jesus is feeding a large group of people. But this time it's not 5,000, this time it's 4,000. This time they're in Gentile territory. And Jesus says, I've got compassion on these people. Let's feed them. Let's not send them home with nothing to eat. Let's feed them. Let's take care of it. What do the disciples do? They answer Jesus, but where in this remote place can anyone get enough bread to feed them? See, friends, the disciples didn't just forget bread on the trip. The disciples forgot what Jesus had done just a short time earlier in the feeding of the 5,000. They didn't forget the bread. They forgot who they were with. See, they're fixated on that which they think they need, which is bread in that instance, bread in this other instance as well, bread to feed themselves, bread to feed the other people. But they're forgetting, this is Jesus. And when it comes to Jesus, the things that we think we need aren't really what we need. In fact, what's more important than what we think we need is who we're with. And Jesus gets fed up because he's been revealing himself to them over and over. He's been demonstrating to them his authority, his power, his deity. He's representing himself to them as God, and they still don't get it. And so here Jesus at the end of chapter 8, or actually in the middle of the chapter 8, he says, look, when I broke the 7 loaves for the 4,000, how many basketfuls did you pick up? And they answered 7. In other words, I provided bountifully in that situation. Just before, remember, I provided bountifully in the situation of the feeding of the 5,000. And then he said to them, do you still not understand? Friends, it's easy to forget. In the midst of all the stuff that's in front of us, all the tasks that are to be done, all the resources that are to be aligned, all the people that need things from us, it's easy to forget, like the disciples, who we're with. See, when we know who we're with, then what we need becomes almost irrelevant. Because when we know who we're with, we understand that what God requires of us, God provides for us. Friends, if you're out there today and you're focused, you're fixated on the temporal, you're fixated on the stuff you think you need, let me encourage you, let me challenge you. Remember who you're with. Jesus sends us out to be with Him in order to be sent by Him. Friends, don't forget, even as you're going, remember who's with you. It's Jesus. Let Him be enough for you today. God bless you, friends, and Lord willing, we'll see you again soon on the Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional.